it can give you the words to the blog that you want to write, but it doesn't give you the tone. It doesn't give you the creativity. It doesn't give you, I can kind of get a feel for when things are written by ChatGPT. We were talking about this before that at the end of the day, ChatGPT is a pool of ideas, it's a pool of information. And at the end of the day, the same people in the same roles in all of the companies are going into that exact pool uh, to write content.
Welcome to the Marketing Academy podcast by G-CMO, where in every episode we sit down with a marketing expert to deep dive into a hot topic shaping the industry. I'm Yitzy Tannenbaum. Let's get started. Welcome to the Marketing Academy podcast by G-CMO, the podcast where every episode we dive into a different marketing topic. I'm Yitzy Tannenbaum, part of the product marketing team at Palo Alto Networks. Now, all marketers, wherever you are, you're probably using a generative AI tool in some way or another. I think we're all trying to figure out how to use them in the best optimal way. So in this episode, we'll take a deeper look at how to use the Gen AI tools effectively. And there's no one better to talk about it than Leeron Mendel.
I hope.
I hope so too. Time will tell. So I can introduce you, but you'll probably do a better job than that. Tell us who you are personally. Tell us who you are professionally.
Okay, so nice to meet you guys. Happy to be here. Great energy. I've basically been doing product marketing for the better half of the last generation, which makes me sound pretty old. Mainly for B2B, cybersecurity, startups, mom of three. Yes, three. So yeah, that's basically in a nutshell what I've been doing for the past decade. And I've also been giving a few talks around AI since it came out, because in marketing, you need to you need to be at the forefront of technology that is kind of coming out there and helping us in marketing roles deal with the day-to-day. So basically, that's how it started.
So talk about that start. Do you remember like the first time you learned about, I guess it was ChatGPT. Do you remember that kind of aha moment when you played with it for the first time?
Oh my God, yes. I think okay, so in product marketing, we were talking about this a few minutes before. You need to do a lot of kind of searching and analyzing data. So I think the first time that I put in like a prompt and then it summarized me like tons and tons of data and articles in like one page was like an aha moment where I realized that it took me 2 minutes to do something that in the past would have taken me, I think, like 4 days of like kind of researching, reading, going through the material, looking online. So that kind of helps in summarizing. And that was an aha moment where I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I think that it was in that moment that I realized, okay, this is going somewhere fast. It's gonna change the game. It's gonna change the rules. And the ones that are gonna be left behind in marketing, there's this like sentence going around. Everyone's like hearing like AI is gonna like replace everyone and everything. So I don't believe that's the case, but I believe that people will be replaced by people that know how to use AI tools. AI won't replace anyone because it can't replace creativity. It can't replace leadership, but it will replace those who are kind of left in the back and they don't know how to elevate their productivity with AI.
I've seen that being said a lot, that you need to know AI. It's people will be replaced by the people who know AI. I also think that in marketing, many of us have a more project management and strategic role as opposed to a very tactical role, which is something AI will help you with. Um, I think a lot of people using Gen AI today, it's very ad hoc, right? Everyone found that one or two tools that they use um, and that they like using. What's how would you recommend a marketing leader, a CMO, a VP marketing, to roll out a Gen AI tool in their organization in a more kind of standardized way?
So I think like the first kind of step there would be, and I did this like recently, where we have each person on the marketing team kind of play and use a specific tool, because again, tools are like coming out like every other day, and people are already talking about chat gpt, like you can erase it, now we have DeepSeek, and they're like other tools for researching and everything. So I think that the first kind of step would be to find out what's there and what works. So we have every marketer on the team kind of play with a different tool, and then present it to the team like, okay, this is what I've been working with for the past week. This is what it's helped me with. This is what is working more. This is what is working less. And then we kind of take a look at all the tools out there, and essentially what will decide on if a tool is relevant for a specific marketing team is if A, it cuts back the time. So if you're using a tool to do things that help you make that help you be more productive faster, then that's a yes for me. And if it's able to integrate with other tools, then that's also an added kind of plus. And I think the third thing is, and something that is especially like kind of sacred in cyber marketing, is that if it's secure, if it's a secure tool, and if it's safe to use it, and if it's safe to kind of use it on the companies, with the company's kind of security setup. So yeah, if the answer is yes to two out of those three questions, then I would say go for it.
I mean, if it's not safe, you probably won't be able to use it, but I totally get that. And that's actually a really cool idea. So the marketing leader can distribute or tell each employee, hey, choose one tool, use it. Let's reconvene in 2, 3 weeks. Let's see what worked well, what didn't, and then choose them. Uh, then would the leader then choose, or the team will choose 2 or 3 solutions, and would those be the standardized solutions that the team would use?
So in my team, what I found works best is not starting with a bunch of tools, because then people kind of lose it and they don't know what to use where. So I think that starting with one top, like two tools, that everyone can kind of learn and use well. And after you get into the motion of it, then you can add on more tools. But I think having starting with two would be a good spot.
Would you pay?
Definitely, we pay for, the premium chat GPT, for instance, where you can ask them to do, like, kind of a deep search and research, which is really awesome. I don't know if you've used it before, but instead of, like, going to, like, 20 sources, so it goes to, like, hundreds and hundreds of sources, and it does that kind of deep search, like, around the world.
You chose the solution, you paid for it. How should the how should I educate the team? How do I make sure, there are always those few people who know every solution, are very tech savvy, but every team also has those people who are not necessarily as tech savvy. How do you make sure that the entire team knows how to use it? Talk a little bit about education, or maybe Gen AI enablement.
So in our weekly meetings, I think the thing that comes up the most is that we talk about it. We talk about where we used it. We talk about where it helped us. And I think that even if you're not that tech savvy, by the way, these platforms and tools aren't that complicated. You'd be surprised how kind of user friendly they are. But once people realize and understand the real value, even if they need to put in that like extra hour, 2 hours, like understanding how it works and work with the tool, when they understand that it can save them like hours and hours of things or tasks that would take them otherwise like days, they're normally really into it. You don't need to like convince anyone. And I think, as I said before, it's for their own good. People that won't take that like added initiative in learning, that they'll be kind of left back.
I do slightly disagree. I do agree that they're less scary than they seem, But I do think that education is needed, and just showing people how to use prompts and what to do and how and where it can be used. I think as marketing leaders, we do have a responsibility to help people bring them in
Ag-
to that.
Agree. Prompt, completely agree. I'm with you on that.
I mean, when to use and also when not to use, I think a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
What instance wouldn't you use?
Interesting. I think I have a rough story where at work I wrote a blog, someone took it and put it into ChatGPT and didn't review it and said, "Hey, like, what do you think of this blog?" Very quickly, I said, "This was written by AI. This was not written by a person." And it missed a lot of sections and it kind of changed the meaning of things. Um, so I think, for example, when it comes to writing, it could definitely help, but it has to be a supporter, at least at this point, and not, hey, I threw it into the LLM. I took it out. I put it on my website. I don't think we're there yet.
I completely agree. I think that it can give you the words to the blog that you want to write, but it doesn't give you the tone. It doesn't give you the creativity. It doesn't give you. I can kind of get a feel for when things are written by Chat GPT. We were talking about this before that at the end of the day, ChatGPT is a pool of ideas, it's a pool of information. And at the end of the day, the same people in the same roles in all of the companies are going into that exact pool uh, to write content. So you have a lot of blogs out there, content, collateral that is kind of feeling and sounding like it's the same. And that's because that it all was generated from the same kind of space. So for those that are kind of afraid, and I get this with content writers mainly, that they're kind of like very wary around ChatGPT, like kind of replacing them. But at the end of the day, if someone wants to stand out in the crowd, like cybersecurity companies, for instance, where everything sounds a lot of the same, if you use Chat GPT or any other platform, you're just going to get more content that sounds the same. So for someone or a marketing leader that wants to stand out in the crowd, I would say stay away for content writing. You can kind of use it to summarize, you can use it to brainstorm, you can use it to get ideas, but you can't get that tone of voice, that personal tone of voice from ChatGPT.
I'll also add to that that I think our job as marketers is always to break the paradigm and get out of everyone's doing the same thing, right? So at RSA, everyone's giving out socks. Maybe I'll bring in puppies that you can pet, right? How do I take the
I thought
paradigm?
that.
Yeah, Orca did that, which was they were so cute. But I think that's a very watered down example. But I think in everything, if you're building a website, how do you bring design that is unique and different? How do you bring copy that is unique and different? In our industry of cybersecurity, how do you not use the word orchestration, automation, visibility, leverage? I will try to stay away from the word leverage, right? So how do we break out of the model, the more of the same, and the Gen AI and LLMs do exactly that. They look for the most common word.
Exactly.
So I'm with you on that. It kind of does just more of the same.
My theory on this is that the idea is to get the most creative people that you can on the team that will eventually be able to be more productive with AI, but you still need that creativity. I actually heard an amazing statistic. It was a research by Harvard. I listened to it actually on the way here, that said that Chat GPT and AI were actually reducing creativity by 40%. And it's because of exactly what we were talking about a bit before, that everyone's kind of digging into the same pool of information. So yeah, the idea is to get the creative people, people that are strong in storytelling and creative and can kind of think out of the box, and have them use Gen AI to be more productive.
Right. So it's a tool in our toolkit, and the creative people need to use it to support their creativity and not replace their creativity. So we spoke about where not to use it. What are the main use cases where you think that it can be used and it can support a marketing team?
Mainly, I think for research, summarizing, especially in product marketing or in marketing, where you want to find pain points on buyer personas, for instance. You want to summarize statistics. You want to find an amazing way to use ChatGPT I found was to find sources, credible sources. If you want to look for information, statistics, numbers through the web without, going at it for hours and hours, you can kind of ask it, find numbers to help me back up what I'm trying to say, and then it'll go and it'll look for that information. So that I think is great.
It's funny because I actually had a different experience. I needed a lot of supporting statistics, and it gave me numbers, but I'm not gonna just quote the chat. I will go and I'll check. And then it wasn't always precise, and it maybe kind of mixed up a few things. So, yes, it could help you, but I will encourage people that if you do find those statistics and numbers, you got to go and verify the source and make sure that it's actually accurate.
I agree, and I'll tell you that I found the same thing. So what I did was I went back to the prompt and I kind of gave a direction. I want you to add the link to the source and be as thorough as you can on verifying it because I need it for a deck. So then it kind of changed the answers and gave me the ones that were kind of more close to what it kind of wrote on the output, matched more was what was said in the source, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. And I remember playing with the prompts, getting it slightly better, but you still have to verify, um, kind of
Agree.
going back to our world, trust but verify. So right. So we're getting sources. What other use cases come to mind using LLMs and Gen AI?
Brainstorming for ideas, I think, is an amazing use for marketeers. Like you were talking about RSA, so I can tell it, think of the 10 most crazy and out of the box ideas that you can't find anywhere. And sometimes it'll come up with creative ideas. So instead of asking it for like one or two, I'll tell it, okay, give me 50 ideas. And then, it can kind of spark that creativity kind of, moment. So ideas, brainstorming, statistics, briefings, if you want to give an idea and write a brief, I think that it can help you write a brief. You can kind of give it an idea and it can kind of fill in the blanks for you. What else am I missing? I think that it's like a personal kind of assistant that can kind of fill in the blanks when you need to write something lengthy.
I mean, in my world, I try to not if I'm writing something lengthy, I probably shouldn't be writing it. I always try to keep it short and sweet. And I think a lot of people who are just starting out with AI and they're like, wow, it could write amazing English, especially for non-native English speakers, and it looks so good. But then you find it's just super repetitive. And as marketers, our job is to keep it simple. So I think it's knowing how to balance that and not getting too excited by, wow, it's written so well, right?
I think that when writing, you need to remember to ask and fine tune your prompts as much as you can, and make sure that it's in your tone of voice. So you can actually feed it things that you've written in the past and introduce yourself to ChatGPT, for instance, and ask them to give you things in that tone of voice. By the way, you can do it also with visual tools for AI and content creating tools for AI. You can tell it to kind of stick with your tone of voice. And then you get a more kind of something that is as close to you as possible.
If you're a paying customer and you continue using the same solution, then with time, it'll get more trained to know you.
Exactly. Exactly.
There are also tools like Notebook LM, which I like, that you could just add a ton of documents to it, and then it could read through those documents and know them, and then write something in that tone.
There is a tool called Podcast AI. I don't know if you've used it or heard of it, but what you do is basically you can put in like a 4 sentence brief, and it'll make a podcast. It sounds like two people like you and me having a conversation on the topic that you put in.
So I'm no longer needed. I feel offended. Who's going to put food on the table? Notebook LM also will do. And what's really annoying about the podcast, usually that like automated voice sounds extremely automated. They have
Agree.
enough lag and enough where it's, wait, is that a real, like, it almost sounds human, and that's kind of scary.
Look, it's getting better. At
Yeah.
the beginning, when things were coming out like videos and clips and pictures, you were like, "Oh, that won't like
12 fingers. Yeah.
exactly that won't work. No one's gonna use this." But it's getting better in an amazing pace. Like the things that are out now, if I compare them to things that were coming out like 6 months ago, it's gotten so much better. I'm like, oh my God, where are we gonna be in like a year and a half? Like I'm so excited to see what we'll be able to do with it and how real it's gonna become. Amazing.
And look how much it came since it started, probably what, 2 years ago. So it's definitely exciting. So we mentioned a few tools. Any tools that our listeners should look at or check out for their organization?
Okay, so that's a question that I get asked a lot. But you need to understand that there are like literally hundreds of tools. So I think that what people need to be asking is, what are the tasks on my day to day that I need to get done, that I need help with? Because obviously, if you're a designer, it's going to be very different tools than someone that is working in content, than someone that is working in R&D, than someone that, like, every role has its go-to tools. So I think that what I would recommend was kind of map out what your needs are, where you need help. Mainly those areas need to be attached to something that has to do with kind of productivity, and then find a tool that does that and start playing with it, because every kind of role has their go-to tool. So it varies. There are hundreds. And as we're speaking, there are like two or three more coming out right now.
That's a fair point. I guess looking at your workflow, finding those kind of mundane and tedious tasks, and then saying, hey, can I replace this with something easier? Letting my employees focus on the more, as we mentioned, the creative, the strategic. That hopefully that would also help with employee satisfaction and retention, and also use the tools for good and for things that really matter.
I agree. And I think that you touched on this for a second, helping like with employee satisfaction. Also, the fact that companies are helping their people evolve and kind of giving them a platform to use these tools and be innovative and try and learn, I think is also super important so that they don't feel kind of left back. I think that companies that aren't kind of trying and learning tools and being in the forefront of everything that's happening, if at my company we weren't like touching on any kind of tools, I would be kind of looking at at companies that were, because okay, that's cool. I need to be there, because if you're not, I think in a year or two those people won't be relevant.
So as
That makes sense.
it makes total sense. Also, people want to be at the forefront of anything, right? They want to feel like they're a leader. They don't want to feel like the third best, or the bottom of the pack. But as a leader, how do I create that culture, and like how do I promote it as a marketing leader, as a company leader, as a CEO? How do I make sure that the usage of AI is at the forefront of the usage of AI?
So what I can tell you I did on my team was we put one person, and we gave him kind of the role of AI innovator. And his kind of role in the team and also in the company was, again, to learn about the tools. Once a week, we would dedicate like 1 hour to talking about the different tools that are out there. He would show us a tool that he used, how he used it. So, again, constantly not just talking about it and not just using it as a buzzword like we want to be and use AI, but actually doing it. Like, okay, so bring in people that are in the forefront of AI and have them talk to your team, have them teach your team how to build prompts, how to be more productive, how to be more creative. Like, bring the information in your team and dedicate like a weekly session on AI and on productivity. That I think would be like an amazing start.
That's definitely a cool idea. I think you mentioned two things that I liked. There are a lot of people now that are AI experts, which I don't understand. I could be an expert in something that's existed for only 2 years. But there are people that will come and lecture about how to use tools, how to bring it into your business and workflow. So bringing external people to help and support is a good idea. But having a touch point and sharing the knowledge, I think we're all tinkering, we're all playing around. So allowing place for that conversation. It could, like, in addition to a weekly session, it may also be just a Slack channel where people could share, "Hey, I use this and this tool, check it out," or "I used it in this way, and this is a really cool result I got." I think enabling that can be pretty cool.
Yes, and also allocating budget. These tools, some of them they need budget. You need to allocate budget. If you have huge teams, then you kind of need to make sure you have it. And some of these tools can be kind of costly, but yeah, it's definitely worth it. If you need to give an agency a brief and you want to kind of give them the look and feel. So, for instance, at RSA, we were talking about when you're like designing a booth, you can ask it for like 10 or 20 different ideas. And then in like a second, you have visuals of amazing booths with like within creative edge to it to give someone else inspiration, but to use it on your platform, like this is something that you created. I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
Very interesting. You did mention LinkedIn, and kind of you see those pictures that kind of all feel the same. I think, by the way, so LinkedIn added that kind of bullet, that button of "Write with AI." Also, that kind of made a lot of the posts seem very AI.
I agree. I think also people are writing more now that they have AI, especially with non-English speakers. They can just put in their native language and okay, kind of translate and put up content very fast. But I also think that that's kind of I miss seeing those like little mistakes or people that come from other countries. You can kind of see the accent, I want to say, and it's like it's lost because everyone is kind of proofing everything with ChatGPT.
And it's funny because when people come here to this podcast, especially non-native English speakers, some of them will want to have everything written out word for word. And I think us as listeners, we almost look for the stutter or for the kind of getting lost and being pulled back in. If it's too refined, if it's too perfect, there's something that it almost makes us uncomfortable.
I agree. I agree. It's like looking at a newscaster and seeing them kind of read the prompts. You kind of lose it at that minute. You're like, okay, not interesting.
People are looking for authenticity and for, at least that's my perspective. Because we could get, if I want, I don't need to go into LinkedIn. I could go into an LLM and ask them to provide me any information I want, and I could get it. I'm looking for that, I guess, human connection. And that brings us back to what I think marketing really is. It's how do we connect with the human who will then buy our product? As marketers, we tend to kind of think of, hey, I'm in B2B cybersecurity marketing. I'm just going to put out like a few big words. But our customers are individuals with human experiences. And how do I make that connection? And maybe you're bringing up a really good point that I think I kind of knew, but I didn't really think about. Maybe LLMs, Gen AI kind of remove the human element from the things we do.
I couldn't agree more. Not only did it remove it, another interesting thing is happening. And I think that this is something that, especially in marketing, we need to realize that now, because content creation has become so easy and everyone can write a blog, everyone can write content, everyone can generate anything. So if until now we were in a very super noisy space, now you are bombarded with content. You are bombarded with like these long kind of with blogs, with content, with white papers, with whatever. So now more than ever, when everyone is doing content creation, you need to find a way to rise above that noise. And I think that that way is what you were talking about right now, like that authenticity, that like edge that you don't see, that personalization that you are missing, that I'm missing. I think that we are all kind of missing because, as you said, we're going through like LinkedIn, and it's like more of the same. Even when someone writes a very, touching post about something, you can already see that everyone's comments are like the generated AI comments on LinkedIn.
Drives me
Good,
crazy.
good job.
Good-
Good job. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, well, I couldn't agree more.
It's interesting. I really didn't see this episode kind of the takeaway being I thought the takeaway would be, okay, it could replace everything. We need to use AI in all different facets and elements in our marketing department and in our organization. Eh, I think my takeaway is now going to be very different, is using it in a very precise and like clear way, helping with the workflow, and actually the most kind of common or classic use case of using it to create external facing content to maybe not always use it in that way.
I agree, and also realize that with every there's like a sentence I forgot. There's a saying like, "With great something comes great."
With great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. Okay, what is that, from Star Trek or something, right?
Oh God,
Oh God, no.
there are a few people listening to this episode that are
That are gonna
technical.
kill me?
It's
Okay.
Spider-Man's Spider-Man.
Oh,
Uncle Ben.
hey, I'm sorry. Okay. My son is gonna be super mad, but okay. So from one side, okay, so we have these tools and it's being called like an amazing revolution of productivity. But on the other side, it's going to be much harder for people in marketing to rise above the noise. So, yeah, there are downsides to this. And I think that the people that will be able to successfully come out of this in like the next like 4 or 5 years and be able to kind of elevate themselves in marketing roles will be the people that will be able to kind of be super creative and learn how to use these tools to kind of uplift their creativity.
My manager actually told me of a time that he sent customers a box and they opened the box. This now makes no sense, but it was a. I'll tell you what it was. It was a box, and you open it, and butterflies kind of came out. He was selling some kind of B2C like hair product, and he sent this to advertisers. The reason it doesn't make sense is how these butterflies survive. I don't know. Maybe they could survive in a box. But like, what are those crazy ideas like puppies at a trade show? Also, by the way, at RSA, there was also a goat petting thing, but as opposed to puppies, goats smell bad.
I saw the goats.
Yeah, there were goats too. But it's trying to find those crazy ideas because every booth will give you socks. Every company will give you a notebook, which is fine, but how do you do something? And I think people are so thirsty for something crazy, something unique, something that's just completely unhinged. And I think by the way, like good social media today are those few select companies that are just absolutely bonkers and doing crazy things on social media. Those are the ones that we're drawn to and interested in. If you're it doesn't have to cost a ton of money, right? If you're a teeny company, you can do some really out of the box crazy things just by using some creativity.
I couldn't agree more. When you were talking about
I think
creativity, I was gonna talk about, like, touch on Wiz, that I think that, like, part of their kind of explosion and exploding in, like, the scene was because they were able to do that, and that's not things that you can find on ChatGPT, though that those are not ideas or things that you can kind of find on some automatic tool. It's a team of and I know the team at Wiz, these are super creative people that think out of the box, and they do that. They rise above the noise. Like they had at RSA, I think a year or two ago, they had like the supermarket where they had solutions on cereal boxes and on milk cartons. That was amazing. That was pretty freaking amazing. Their booth was out of this world.
it's funny because those I didn't like, the video store, the store, what I really liked, I don't know if you've seen the year they did Wizard of Oz. So they had people dressed up as Dorothy, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Lion. And like the whole theme was the yellow brick road, and it's because the Wiz. I really, really liked that. Like that booth really stood out to me.
At the end of the day, I think that we can both agree, whether or not we liked last year or the year before that, is that they do what they do well, and it's not with automatic tools.
Right.
They have super creative, interesting people that they let them kind of explore and do what they do best. They have super creative people on their team.
And that might be good feedback also for hiring. Is when we give assignments now, they're usually super generic that it's like any Gen AI tool can do pretty well. If build me a go-to-market strategy or write me a blog about this and that. Maybe what we should be looking for is the creative, the out-of-the-box thinkers, the people that could bring a unique perspective and unique ideas to the table.
Completely. The podcast that I was talking about before that I heard on the way over here was talking about people, that there are people that use their left brain more and the right brain more. So they were talking about that until today, they were looking of the more right brain people that kind of are more kind of autodeductive and kind of those hard workers. And now when you have like these tools doing the heavy building, so you need less of that. You need the out of the box thinkers that can use these tools to do the kind of heavy lifting,
Right. And
if that makes sense.
it makes total sense, but in my mind, marketers were always creative folks, right? If you wanted to find a good marketer, it's usually those people that kind of had these crazy ideas that I'm very proud of the times when I bring an idea that's so crazy that people tell me, "What are you talking about? That's insane." And even if we
You
don't do
need
it,
to give me an idea. You need to tell me one of those ideas,
oh,
and then I can share one of mine.
okay, what I knew no one would let me do this, but I wanted to promote our email security solution by sending phishing emails. But think about it. Like it proves the use case. You're clicking on the phishing email. That means you're not secure. You are the problem. Let me help you solve it. It makes sense.
It makes sense, but I can see why a board or a CEO wouldn't be up for that because that would like be giving someone a potential heart attack.
But what I'm saying is, I agree, and I didn't take it too far up the chain because I knew it wouldn't work. I am looking at sending physical mail to promote email security, but that's a whole different story. But how do you introduce crazy ideas that are just crazy enough and just out there enough that everyone will talk about it tomorrow, like puppies at RSA? What are those? They don't have to be expensive, but they're crazy enough. And I think that's what a good marketer knows how to do today.
I agree. And I think that ChatGPT can definitely help with that. Any AI tool can help you because then it's like, I feel like sometimes it's having like a conversation with someone where I'm like, okay, give me ideas. Okay, give me more. You can actually tell it, be more crazy. Think more out of the box. Think like you can tell them to act like you can take a person, ask them to learn that person. You can take a comedian, for instance, have them learn their website, learn their tone of voice, and then ask them to give you ideas based on that comedian's kind of beliefs and ask them to go crazy. You can do those things with tools.
Wait, so you promised me your crazy idea.
Okay, my crazy idea was, fuck up nights from like startup world, where you have visionaries and people that made and built startups talking about like where they, I don't know if we're allowed to say fuck up on the podcast, but okay. Well, where they fucked up the most. That's why they call them fuck up nights.
Okay.
So I wanted to have a CISO fuck up night where CISOs come and get like the big CISOs of the big brands, the big companies come and talk about where they fucked up the most. The big breaches that you didn't hear about, the big fall downs that you didn't know about, like lessons learned from like real cases that happened. So I think that that would be like an amazing way to get more CISOs.
That's very
Uh,
cool. And by the way, that's an idea that I highly doubt, at least at this point, a Gen AI solution would come up with.
I agree. I didn't use AI. I was just thinking of how I can get CISOs to listen in a world where, again, everyone is bombarding them with content. You need something that gives value. I think that that's the thing. You need to give someone value. Also, people that are listening to the podcast are not listening to this podcast because they don't have something better to do. They're listening to you because they feel that you're giving them that added value. You're giving them ideas. You're giving them something to think about. Uh, so if you kind of keep that in mind, I think you'll be successful in whatever you're doing. You always need to create that value.
Right. It's creating, and the way I like to word it is not only creating value, but how am I improving their life? And I think if you're a B2C e-commerce company, it's very easy to talk about it, right? The car is faster, the energy bar is healthier, right? Like it's very clear on how their life is better with it. It's easier, it's more affordable, it's easier to access. I think in the B2B world, like in kind of businesses as boring as cybersecurity, we at times forget that person at the end. And I like to ask myself when I'm creating messaging or creating some piece of content, is the reader, is the consumer going to feel that their life is better with my product or with this message? Is it going to hit them and say, you know what? I I personally, now my company is more secure because yes, the ultimate goal is having the company more secure, but what's in it for me? Why am I happier because I bought your product? And maybe that's kind of the step further than creating value.
Agree. That's an amazing point, and I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so Gen AI, we spoke about a lot of different elements of it. I definitely, as I mentioned throughout, I came out surprised at, and my big takeaway is not always using it for the easy external facing things, but use it more to support the workflow. Um, Leeron, before we go, any kind of final thoughts about Gen AI and how it should be used?
Final thoughts. I think learn, listen, stay up to date. There are amazing podcasts, webinars that you can kind of listen, look online. Just start. People sometimes don't know where to start. I would say don't look for something specific, just start. Start listening, start looking at online. And there are lots of influencers on LinkedIn as well that are kind of daily posting about tools, showing you how to use them, giving you prompts. So just start playing with it. Just start.
Julie Andrews in The Sound of Music says, let's start from the very beginning, a very good place to start. So I will take that advice. I think we all have what to learn, and there are resources out there, podcasts or books or blogs or whatever it is. Learn how to use these tools. Don't stay behind. Leeron, this was super interesting and fun conversation. I appreciate it. It was definitely not an AI generated conversation, which is great. Before we go, I do want to thank Rotem Simon, who is our producer here, Nar Naftali, who is our editor, and our home and studio for this podcast, Google for Startups. If you're a startup and you're looking for a place to call home, Google for Startups may be the place for you. You can find mentors, a great community to be a part of, and a good workplace. So check out Google for Startups. Gen AI, great tool to use. Thanks for tuning in and learning about it with me and Leeron. Leeron, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This
Have a
was
great
fun.
day. It was.